Welcome to Solo Sailing with Trevor White, and today I'm going to talk about Cook's Reef. Recently sailed to Epi Island and a little bay called Sulua Bay. Basically we're going to go and explore Cook's Reef, the famous Cook's Reef. It's got awesome diving. It's probably one of the best dive sites for natural reef in Vanuatu, but it's also quite exposed. So left Port Vila and overnighted in Havana Bay just to cut the trip down a little bit. So I left Havana Bay early in the morning, punched out through the northern entrance, probably about 6 o'clock, just so light enough so we could see the coral. Got out and protected by the lee of the island, and it's pretty cruisy sailing. Got all the sails rigged, and it was going to be a blowy day. It was expecting 20s. As soon as we cleared the island, we probably had 30. We were shut the motor down and just sailing along, and it was probably a solid 30 knots most of the day. Swell got bigger and bigger, and it was rolly as hell. So, another day in Vanuatu, you can never really know what you're going to get. And where the charts are sort of accurate, sort of not. Had an idea that the wind was going to come from the southeast, because that's where the wind generally comes from. But it looked like it was a good day for sailing, and it was a good day for sailing. There was plenty of wind, no shortage, and that's what we did. Sailed along, and probably about halfway, noticed the boat rounding up and trying to work out what's going on, and the main autopilot had failed, and the head unit was working, and I couldn't work out what was going on. I thought I might have snapped the chain. I've got a chain-driven autopilot. It's an older system, but really over-engineered, and it's big enough to be steering a small ship. But we had all the sail up. I was really punching along, probably doing about 8 to 9 knots. So probably just overworking the autopilot. And I thought, I'm not quite sure what's going on. Fault finding, going through it, checking different fuses. All the fuses appeared okay. And my autopilot is an old Nico, which is quite an old autopilot, but the drive unit, which is a massive motor with a geared chain drive onto the steering quadrant, is over-enginered. And when I upgraded the head unit, I kept the drive unit. I just changed some of the electronics. And speaking to a number of people, that's why I chose the head unit, so it would work with the drive unit. And it probably saved myself $5,000 or $6,000 in doing that. And people said, these things will last forever. I changed a couple of bushers, gave it some new oil, give it a bit of a clean, and it has done thousands of miles since then. But sailing down, it's decided to fail. So, conditions a bit heavy for my backup autopilot, which is a wheel pilot, and then I have a wind vane. So I was playing around with the wind vane, but my wind vane doesn't like wind from the stern. It likes a beam reach, punching into the wind. It likes all those, but with wind's hard on the stern, or like I've got it from the rear quarter of the boat, it doesn't do so well. So I ended up just hand steering, and we were punching along, and it was really heavy. And then I was sailing with Emile at the time, and so he came up on the wheel. I went down and did a bit more fault finding, pulled the drive unit apart, and found one of my 20 amp fuses had blown, and hadn't had that happen before, and they're inside the actual unit, so it wasn't something I was expecting. But you just keep fault finding until you work out what's going on. Changed the fuse, and working perfectly. All I did was I just eased off a bit of sail, dropped the mizzen, put a reef in the main, and that calmed the boat down a little bit, so the autopilot wasn't working quite so hard, and the fuse was quite old, so these things do fail every now and again. Point to note, take more fuses. So I only had the one spare fuse, that 20 amp old style glass fuse. So ended up getting some more recently, but they were hard to find. So we eventually got down to Epi Island, and had to sail between Cook Reef and the island, on the west coast of the island. So it was lumpy, really lumpy, very rolly. And the reef was just whitewashed, like Emile wants to come closer, he wants to go check it out. And I'm going, not a fucking chance, dude. This is an exposed reef. We're in the middle of nowhere. The island's got a number of reef hanging out of it as well. I'm just picking a line in deep water to get between the two and looking at this thing, which was just a washing machine. And I'm thinking, like, there is no way in hell I'm taking my boat anywhere near that reef. So, yeah, we ended up sailing up the north side of the island, trying to find a protected anchorage. And on the west side of the island, there were no anchorages, a lot of reef. But one thing I did notice, there's a stack of tuna. Like, tuna were, out there flying around everywhere, lots of fish activity. So ended up having to sail all the way up into Salua Bay, and on the chart it's a logical choice. It's a bit of an indentation on the north side. Sailed up into there. There's a little bit of a natural harbour for the locals. It's only really fit for canoes or pungas, and we anchored just east of that. And there's a few coral heads in there, a couple of buoys, but the buoys are from someone who's actually dumped their chain, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. Either the locals have bought some chain and put it down with an anchor, or someone has got caught out with a wind that's turned around and they've had to dump the chain to get out of there. Because when I went and dived on it, the chain was it was all caught around the reef, and it was heavy chain too. It's like, this thing had come off a landing barge or a small ship. So that was interesting. But I didn't want to anchor near there. I sort of anchored 100 metres away, slightly deeper water, about 12 metres of water in sand, and we only had a couple of bommies we had to ignore. Not ignore, but avoid rather. But overall, it was a good spot, pretty well protected. But Cook's Reef was a complete and utter washing machine, and we stayed there a couple of days, hoping to get out there and do some diving on it. And it didn't happen. It's a awesome looking place. Like the photos look awesome, the footage I've seen looks amazing, and I can understand why. Like there's no one there. There's a few locals. It's about 60 miles from Port Vila, so it's a fair boat ride if you're going to go out there on a boat. You're not going to take a punga out there because it's too exposed, and most of the diving is done here in small pungas. You're going to need a decent, proper ocean-going dive vessel. I don't see too many of those in Vanuatu. So it's not the easiest place to dive, and it is a very exposed reef. And in the couple of days we were there, it didn't let up. The weather just didn't let up that whole week. And so I ended up doing some diving and on the local corals, and they were pretty good. Like the water quality was quite good. There's quite a bit of decent coral on the north side, a fair bit of fish life. And it's not a huge population on the island. So there's 2 little villages that we could see. I think another village on the south side. And, that would explain the fish life. But while we were there, a super yacht came in, as they do, and just lowered its 25-foot fishing tender into the water, which is like a game fishing boat. And then they went out chasing tuna, which I don't blame them. There's a lot of tuna there, and it wasn't so blowy. I probably would have gone out chasing tuna in my dinghy as well. But it was blowing like 30 knots off the island, and that's a little bit too lumpy for a little dinghy. But that's something to check out if you manage to find a bit of decent weather and you're on your way from Vila to Epi. Is you can stop off at Emae Island and Cook's Reef, and if you get a good day, it's supposed to be absolutely awesome diving. It looks great. But my visit didn't cut it this time. So, if you're going into Salua Bay, if the fender's still there's a floating fender which is a buoy attached to a chain. Don't anchor on that. Don't tie up to it. It's only in about 3 metres of water above the coral. Just come back and slightly west, or get slightly north, slightly west by about 70 metres, and you've got a nice little sand patch. Go in there, drop the pick, and anchoring was pretty good in 12 metres of water. And then just do some diving around the bay. It was pretty good. The locals there were quite friendly. It's a nice little island to visit on the way to Epi or on the way to Port Sandwich. So safe sailing, and I'll see you out there.